People, tell me, what did you learn only today? Today, I learned that most homes in ancient Roman cities didn't even have kitchens. People usually ate at public cookshops or bought ready-made meals from street vendors. Turns out medieval towns were pretty much the same. Only around 5% of the population had pots, pans, or any kind of cookware. Folks are still surprised at how modern Rome really was. Their innovations and influence were on another level. Fast food, see above. Organized chaos squads, aka crime. Celebrity endorsements, athletes and famous people advertising stuff. Rock star chefs, street gangs, yep, even back then. Merchant guilds functioning almost like today's corporations. Tourism. Egypt was the hot destination. Archaeologists, they were already poking around in ancient Egypt. Professional actors in entertainment industry. Universities. Today I learned about a guy in Spain in the 90s who totally outsmarted a casino. He kept track of roulette results, fed them into a computer, and figured out which numbers were more likely to hit. In one day, he won 600,000 euros. The casino sued him, but the court ruled against them. Turns out the roulette wheel was faulty, and it was their problem to fix it. Dang, imagine trying that today. You'd probably get lawyered into another dimension before you even cashed out your first free soda. The source said he actually walked away with about $1 million total before legal troubles started. Not bad for one day of spreadsheet wizardry. Today I learned that people with depression actually use language differently. They're more likely to rely on first-person pronouns like I, me, my. Studies show that this pattern is even more accurate at detecting depression than just looking for negative words. So basically, people without depression talk more about you, they, we, because they're more socially engaged. Kinda wild. In 2018, Japan's cybersecurity minister Yoshitaka Sakurada admitted he had never once in his life used a computer. And yet, he was literally in charge of national cybersecurity at the time. I mean, that's one way to avoid cyber attacks. No computer, no hacks. Some American military guy once said an old warplane couldn't be hacked, not because it was secure, but because literally no one alive still understood its ancient operating system. Talk about accidental unhackable mode. Today I learned that the Falkland Islands once had their own native wolf called the Wara. It was super friendly. It didn't fear humans at all, sometimes even swam up to boats just to say hi. Of course, settlers in the 19th century decided, such a wholesome, floofy creature, let's bonk it out of existence, and so they did. Charles Darwin, during his voyage on the Beagle in 1839, wrote about how unusually trusting these wolves were. Ironically, that trust is exactly what made them vulnerable. Today I learned that Earth has a heartbeat. There's a seismic thump every 26 seconds, coming from somewhere deep in the ocean, and scientists still don't know why. Honestly, with everything going on in the world, if some ancient kaiju crawled out tomorrow, most people would just shrug and go, yeah, checks out. A correction though, it's not literally a pulse every 26 seconds, but a continuous hum with that period, around 126 hertz. Trust me, I'm a seismo bro. Today I learned that the oldest human remains found in Antarctica belong to an indigenous Chilean woman, about 20 years old. Her body was discovered on Livingston Island, and researchers think she ended up there sometime between 1819 and 1825. No records explain how or why a young woman would be there at the time, but there's a theory. In 1819, a Spanish ship called San Telmo sank in the Drake Passage. A year later, wreckage was found near Livingston Island, exactly where her remains were discovered, so it's possible she was part of that doomed voyage. Today I learned that in Australia, the government requires gambling ads to include warnings like, sometimes you win, but mostly you lose. How much does gambling really cost you? Even with these warnings, sports betting and slot machines are still a huge problem. It's basically a disgusting, useless money vacuum. Even if the government takes a cut, most of the profits leave the country anyway. Some say underground gambling would actually do less harm. At least the money would stay in the economy. Basically, ban the slot machines. Blow 'em up. Today I learned that the founder of McDonald's Japan, Don Fujita, claimed, if we eat McDonald's burgers and fries for 1,000 years, we'll grow taller, our skin will lighten, and our hair will turn blonde. This was part of a bold marketing strategy to appeal to the Japanese market. Apparently, they were known for being shorter with darker skin because of a long rice and fish diet. Today I learned about a man named Jerry Selby, who discovered a loophole in a lottery called Windfall. Here's the trick. When the jackpot hit $5 million and nobody won, the prize rolled down to players who matched 3 to 5 numbers. Jerry calculated that buying 1,100 tickets for $1 each would almost guarantee one 4-number win and 18 3-number wins, netting $800 profit. Over 9 years, he made $7.75 million. He and his wife Marge even brought in their 6 adult kids, formed a company, GS Investment Strategies, and sold shares to neighbors. Eventually, newspapers noticed the suspiciously high ticket purchases, but the lottery was functioning as designed. A film was even made about this story, Jerry and Marge Playing Big. Today, I learned that in Japan, it's common for married couples to let the wife handle 100% of the family finances. The husband hands over his entire paycheck, and she gives him a fixed monthly allowance. Apparently, this used to be the norm in Norway too. Some Redditors said their grandmas would literally wait outside factory gates on payday to grab the husband's wages before he could sneak off to the pub and blow it all. And it wasn't just modern practice. In medieval and feudal Europe, noblewomen were basically the CFOs of their estates. Manuals from the 10th century even instructed noble ladies on bookkeeping, hiring staff, and running the manor. Until well into the 20th century, it was totally normal for wives to manage the budget, because they were the ones making sure everyone was fed, clothed, and alive. So really, wife as household manager isn't new. It's the classic patch. Today I learned that Roman Emperor Diocletian was the first ruler to voluntarily step down from power in 305 CE. Why? To grow cabbages. When people begged him to return, he refused, saying, "If you saw the vegetables I grow with my own hands, you'd stop asking me about politics." I visited his palace in Split, Croatia last month. Dude wasn't kidding. The place is full of gardens, with a massive courtyard in the middle. If I had that setup, I'd quit empire management too. Fun fact, yep, this is the same guy who launched the persecutions of early Christians. Today I learned about a case where med students were dissecting a 78-year-old man and discovered he had 3 spaghetti sticks. 2 extras were tiny, non-functional, and hidden deep inside the backpack compartment. The man probably never even knew about it. Double noodles, diphilia, are extremely rare, like 1 in 5 million men. Triple noodles, triphilia, had only been recorded once before in medical history. That's some next-level character customization. Today I learned about a case where a KGB agent and a CIA agent actually became friends while trying to recruit each other. They both knew the other guy was a spy, but they just never talked about it. During his first interrogation at Lubyanka, the KGB told Vasily Vasilyenko that Cuban intelligence had found a recording of his last meeting with his CIA contact, Flat. They were like, "We know you're a spy. Confess." But Vasilyenko remembered Flat once swearing that he would never record their meetings, and in his lowest moment, he decided to trust his friend from the enemy side more than his own employers. That trust saved his life. In reality, Flat really hadn't recorded anything. The KGB just made up the Cuba story to cover their real source, almost certainly Aldrich Ames. Imagine that, having more faith in an enemy spy than in your own government. Back then, that was absolutely wild. Today I learned that Pope Celestine V quit just 5 months after being elected in 1294. He never even wanted to be pope. He was a barefoot hermit living in a cave before the conclave dragged him out. After 2 years of deadlock, they picked him, but he hated the Vatican politics, so he literally passed a decree allowing popes to resign, and then immediately used it to resign himself. The new pope, Boniface VIII, was paranoid that enemies might use Celestine as a puppet anti-pope, so he had him locked away in a remote fortress where Celestine died in 1296. That decree he created turned out to be historic. It was the same legal precedent Pope Benedict XVI used in 2013 to resign, the first time in nearly 600 years. Today I learned that Prince Charles and Princess Diana met only 13 times before their engagement. When asked if they were in love, Diana said yes. Charles, well, he said it didn't really matter. The night before the wedding, he allegedly told her he didn't love her because he wanted honesty and openness. Back then, monarchs thought official wife equals heir and status, mistress equals everything else. Diana thought it was real love. To them, she was more like a ceremonial horse. Today I learned that between 1999 and 2015, 736 Royal Mail employees were wrongly convicted of theft due to faulty accounting software. People were forced to pay back non-existent sums, and some even went to jail. At least 13 franchise owners took their own lives because of these false accusations. Even knowing it was a system error, management continued to file lawsuits. Absolute chaos. Today I learned about a guy who had chronic déjà vu for 8 years straight. He felt trapped in a time loop, convinced he had already lived through everything. Newspapers, TV shows, conversations. It got so bad he dropped out of university. What's strange is that he didn't have epilepsy or brain lesions, which are the usual causes. Doctors think it might have been an extreme anxiety loop, or stress glitches the brain's timing system, causing constant déjà vu. One neurologist said it was the strangest case in medical history. The guy even described going on vacation and being sure he had already experienced the entire trip before. Another doctor compared it to Donnie Jarko. At one point, the patient went for a haircut, had déjà vu in the salon, then déjà vu about having déjà vu. Total brain inception. Back in the 2000s, high schools in Perth, Australia gave teenage girls interactive robo-babies that cried, fussed, and demanded care like real infants. The whole idea was to show how tough parenting is and reduce teen pregnancies. Except it backfired. Girls who got the robo-babies actually had a higher pregnancy rate, 17%, compared to those in regular health classes, 11%. These robo-babies simulated a 6-week-old infant, complete with sleepless nights and endless crying. Researchers followed the teens until age 20 to see the results. One Redditor from Canada said, "We had those dolls too. One night I didn't wake up when it started crying at 2 a.m., but my mom, sleeping a floor above me, did. My teacher said she hears that all the time. Apparently, moms have a built-in baby alarm." Today I learned that NVIDIA's founder Jensen Huang was sent to a prestigious boarding school after his parents sold almost everything they owned to pay for it, except the school turned out to be a reform school for troubled teens. There, teenage Jensen taught his 17-year-old roommate how to read in exchange for help with workouts. Fast forward a few decades, and the guy turned that start into building NVIDIA, now worth around $1 trillion. Unlike some tech giants, cough cough, Intel cough, NVIDIA didn't just coast, they kept inventing stuff. Huang personally saw over 10 years ago that GPUs weren't just for graphics, but for general purpose computing. Everyone thought he was crazy, until it paid off big time. Meanwhile, Intel was like, nah, let's just focus on quarterly reports. And now, well, good luck to them lasting the next decade. Today I learned about the first successful penis transplant in 2014. A 21-year-old man regained function so fast that just 3 to 6 months after surgery, he fathered a child, even though full recovery was expected to take 2 years. The patient had lost his original organ 3 years earlier due to a botched circumcision. Over the years, he experienced some complications, STIs, urethral narrowing, partial necrosis, but the transplant remains in place and functional. Today I learned that in 2020, a man from Como, Italy went for a walk to cool off after an argument with his wife and ended up walking 450 kilometers. He averaged about 60 kilometers per day. After a week, police found him freezing on a coastal highway and fined him 400 euros for breaking curfew. His wife had reported him missing, so she came to pick him up. When asked, he said, "I walked here, no transport. I met people along the way who offered food and water. I'm fine, just tired." Absolutely wild dedication to a walk. Today I learned that introducing peanuts into a baby's diet between 4 to 6 months old can reduce the chance of developing a peanut allergy by 77%. When my daughter started eating solid foods, I was given a list of allergens to introduce early: peanuts, bananas, strawberries, eggs, wheat. For years, doctors thought avoiding peanuts would prevent allergies, but cases only went up. Then researchers noticed something. In countries like Israel, peanut allergies are much lower. Why? A popular kid snack called Bomba, basically peanut-flavored Cheetos, is given to kids from an early age, even to babies. In the UK, peanut allergy rates are 1.85%, about 1 in 54 kids. In Israel, it's only 0.17%, 1 in 588 kids, nearly 11 times lower. And that's without any official system. Imagine if it was done intentionally. We could probably cut it down to 1 in 1,000, or maybe even eliminate it altogether. Today I learned that The Simpsons creator Matt Groening named the family after his own. Homer, Marge, Lisa, Maggie, all inspired by his real family, and his grandfather was named Abraham. Originally, Groening planned to pitch one of his comic strips to the network. At the last minute, he decided he didn't want to give up the rights, so he sketched a few characters on sticky notes on the spot, giving them the first names that came to mind. That improvisation became the start of a cultural icon. Today I learned that in 2008, humans sent a message to the exoplanet GL581c. It will arrive in 2029. If there's intelligent life there and they reply, we'd get their response in 2050. Imagine waiting over 40 years for a reply.